Hashem naaseh v'natzliach. We have an amazing Shiur Torah, amazing group. Thank you for coming. My story doesn't start with religion. My story doesn't start with the truth. I wasn't as fortunate as your rabbi over here. My story starts with Alma de Shikra, the world of lies. Now, the world of lies is very interesting because the whole time you're in it, you think it's the truth. I was surrounded by people that were not willing to tell the truth like your Rav, but they liked money. I had a lot of it, which I'll tell you how I got it. And for many, many years, they came, they collected, and they said nothing. And it cost me a lot. So I came to the United States when I was 10 years old, which is about 26 years ago. I knew 3 letters of the alphabet because it was in a cereal box. But when you're 10 years old, you come to a new country, you learn a language pretty quickly. I liked studying, I liked books. And my parents, unfortunately, did not know that if you send your kid to public school, he automatically becomes a goy. Not because he wants to, but just because that's his surroundings. When you see a bunch of kids, when you're a kid, you're intimidated by them, you look up to them, you think they're all cool, you want to be like them. So when you see a bunch of Italian kids and Spanish kids and black kids and all types of Irish kids with the crosses and the earrings and everything else. So wow, I want to be like them because you want to be liked. So even though I grew up in a house that kept some basic mitzvot, kept the masoret, as soon as we landed in America, we became goyim.
Serious trouble ahead for the satellite radio business. Here with his instant analysis is Reuven. He's an independent trader, president of Reuven Enterprises. And Ron, we were hoping you'd come in because you had some interesting analysis on this whole Howard Stern versus Oprah situation. But let's just start first with Sirius. You own shares of Sirius, not XM. The stock's down 5% this morning. What do you think?
It's a buying opportunity. The bottom line is that these 2 companies have a huge opportunity. There are only 2 companies in an entire sector.
Expanding your own office, which is operating a different business, I could get how you saved money doing that, but how did you get Ashton Kutcher for all within that $2 million?
Oh, the $2 million didn't work.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it didn't come close. No.
I started working as soon as we came to this country. My father taught us that the value of money, and he told us that hard work is something that you need to know because it's something that you're going to have to do eventually regardless. Right. And if you want something, you have to go get it. So I've worked everything. And when I was a teenager, I had newspaper routes and worked in flea markets and electronic stores and shoe stores. So working was something that I already liked, enjoyed, and was good at. I've had a passion for it.
I already knew what I wanted. I wanted money. The only purpose for school, unless you have a specific profession you're going after, if you're going to be an architect, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be an accountant, where you actually need a degree. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. The only purpose for school in general is to teach you how to think. Since I already knew what I wanted to do, I didn't want to be a lawyer, I didn't want to be a doctor, and I didn't want to be in school for 100 years. I was already used to money. 17 years old, making a lot of money, I go to school, everyone is just smoking pot all day and going to clubs, and it was fun, but it was a waste of time. I ran into an old high school buddy, and he told me, listen, you should go into the car business. I said, okay, fine, let me go into the car business. So I go meet somebody in the car business, and I have a meeting with the owner. I tell him, wait, before I spend any time here, do you mind telling me how much does your top guy make? And the guy was taken back. He's like 50, 60 years old. He says, this little kid asking, how much does top guy make? He says, maybe like $150,000. Oh, I said, oh, okay, thank you, I'm not interested. Big head, naive, call it what you want. Ambitious. So then his friend told me, I think you're crazy, but if you want, you can get into the business I'm in, but you're definitely not going to make the money that you're making now. I said, what do you do? He says, I'm a stockbroker. He says, the guys that work in my office, my bosses make a lot of money. They make real money, but it takes a while. I go into this office, like if anybody has ever watched the movie Boiler Room, a bunch of crooks steal money from people. That was the office that I went into. And I didn't know obviously about all the stealing and the stuff that they were doing. And I see everybody's young, in their mid-20s, early 30s. There's Ferraris and Porsches and all types of brand new cars in our parking lot. Everyone has a brand new suit that costs at least $1,000. I said, okay, no problem. Can I start tomorrow? I said, yeah, sure. Okay. So I started working. We had to start work early. We had to start work at 8 o'clock in the morning on the dot and leave at 8 o'clock at night with, I think, about a half-hour break a day. Long schedule, tough schedule, but you can manage. So one day at 7:58 in the morning, I'm reading the Wall Street Journal because I'm starting to learn about this business. My boss gets into the office very angry, and he looks at me in the office. He goes, "What are you doing? Get on the phone." Now, I have a little bit of self-respect. I don't like when people yell at me. So him with his Italian hot head, he says, "Relax, you relax. Get out of here. You're fired. Go home." I said, "Are you sure?" I'm very calm, and collected, and not understanding why he's so angry at 7:58 in the morning. He said, "Yeah, get out." So I said, "Okay, fine." I leave. A few days later, I find another job, another brokerage firm in the city. The guy there is very ambitious, very hungry, much smaller office, only a few people. Within a few months, I start training other people, and on the side, I'm spending as much time as I possibly can learning about this business. I worked for him for the next year and a half, 2 years. After 2 years, I realized that he's the only one that's actually making money. I'm only making, at best, maybe $1,200 a month. And he's buying Porsches and houses and jewelry for my family and everything in between. It's just unbelievable, and I still can barely survive. So after a couple of years of doing this, I decide that it's time for me to leave. We get into a disagreement. I walk away, and I go back into the electronics business for a few more months. And then the firm next door, which was actually a big firm, calls me and says, "Do you want to come back to the business?" One of the guys there offers me a deal, and I start working somewhere around July of 2001. I start working, and within a few days I realize that my so-called partner is a very lazy person. I'm showing up to the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. He shows up somewhere around 10:30, 11. He leaves at 3:30 or 4. I leave at 8 or 9. A little bit of a different schedule. After a month of working, our deal was that he was supposed to pay me $2,200 a month, just as a draw, until I actually start making money from commissions from all these clients that I'm bringing in. After a month passes, I tell him, "Okay, I need my money." And he tells me, no, I hold the first check, in case you screw me." What a nice guy. As you learn from the rest of the story, money makes people do strange things. If you ever want to get to know someone, put a lot of money in front of them, and they'll mutate into what they really are. When someone doesn't have money, they're usually nice, unless they're very bitter. But when someone has a lot of money, suddenly gets rich quick, usually they become a little bit of a different person, the person they were when they didn't have money. In the beginning, it was very, very hard, because I didn't have any money coming in, and any money that would come in went directly to this wonderful boss of mine. After 6 months, I got my first break, started making some money, made $5,000 for the month. Next month, made about $7,000 for the month. The clients I was getting started sending me some referrals. I was getting more and more clients, building the business. Life was never the same. Next month, I made about $60,000. Next month, I made about $180,000. And from that point on, a bad month would be about $75,000 to $100,000. By August of 2003, I became the number 3 producing broker in the entire country for that firm, which had about 5,000 brokers with an average career of about 20 years. I was only in it for a couple of years. I made my first $1 million, and then I decided it's time for me to go and start my own firm. I have money, I know what I'm doing, why not? Hired a bunch of people and started my own company. So started hiring people, started building a business, and then it got to a point where a bad month was about $200,000, $250,000. I was making a few $1 million every year, gave some money to people that needed it, donated some money, bought a Sefer Torah. Throughout all of this time, keeping barely any mitzvot. I think any mitzvah I kept was by luck. I believed in God, but in my own version of it, which is like most people in today's world. We believe that there's a creator because we need him when we're sick, when we're poor, when we're hungry, but the stuff that he said, I don't know that much about. I don't have that much time for it. I'm very busy, God. I need to work. I need to make money. People think that God has done everything, can do everything, created the heaven and the earth, and everything in between. But when it comes to Parnassah, no, he's limited. I need to help him. That's why they work on Shabbat. That's why they work overtime. That's why they spend their life chasing money and not even giving HaShem the opportunity to show you what he can do. Hashem tells you one major thing. I will help you as much as you believe in me. If you believe in me 100%, then I will give you 100% of your parnasah. Either way, everything He gives you. When I say He's going to give you 100% of your parnasah, He's going to give you 100% of your parnasah without working. Money will show up. How? I live like that and I have no idea. Avrichim that are in kollels live just like that for many years. Like my Rav in Yerushalayim has been living like that for his whole life. He still can't explain how he pays the bills, and when he goes to the supermarket for Shabbat, he doesn't even look at the price and he buys everything in sight. Who's going to pay for it? That's Hashem's problem. I do what He wants. He says, if you make my will into your will, in Pirkei Avot, you make His will into your will, He'll make your will into His will. He says it. He says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's who I learned it from. It works.